welcome to another episode of Tectonic Takes. I have someone here that you probably all know. I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, you definitely know him, aka Tommy Scoops, Tom Bogert. How are you doing today? Thank you so much for coming on the show. Thanks. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I've had power the last few days, so I think that's a good baseline to start at. Unlike, some people in your part of the world, which is pretty tough. So yeah, I can't complain.
Yeah, I lived in Japan before. We never had power problems. Now I'm in the Bay Area now in California, and we have some problems. So you would think it would be the other way around. I appreciate this. This is our second go around, but yeah, now we have power. We have some light. It's a little early for me, but early for you too. But I appreciate you coming on.
I
So
appreciate you making it work, mate.
yeah, and talking a little bit about you first. I mean, everybody knows who you are, but I wanted to know a little bit of the origin story, the backdrop for Tom Bogert. I mean, how did you get here? What are the things that you kind of did to become the person you are?
Yeah, so I'm pretty lucky that I had clarity on what I wanted to do pretty young in the grand scheme of things. Like maybe I was 15 when I had enough self-awareness that all right, 5'7", not entirely fast, don't have the best touch, probably not going to make it as a professional soccer player. Like a lot of us have that realization. At least I had that at 15 and not like 24. So, I always was pretty good with like English and history rather than math and science. And then like I stumbled into like a journalism class in high school, and I was like, wait a minute, dudes just talk about sports for a living, and like that's a job. Like hell yeah, sign me up.
Yeah.
So just kind of started there, and then that helped inform a lot of the decisions I made. I played college soccer, and I chose a school that was close to New York City, which helped a whole lot with internships. And then you just climb one thing after the other. Again, a confluence of hard work and good luck is kind of got me to MLS. And then yeah, it's been all she wrote since I got there. I think 4.5 years ago now. I think this is my fourth full season coming in. It's crazy how time flies.
Yeah, I mean, if you think MLS, your name is so closely tied. So it's crazy when you say only 4 years, right? So it's awesome. So how did you become that transfers guy then? Like, how did you become the person that is or I wouldn't want to say the Fabricio of MLS, but yeah, there, right?
Yeah, no, it's tough because these things are like, and this is kind of my advice for any job in sports, let alone kind of exactly what I do. Like, there's no playbook. It's not like, I don't know. I have friends who worked in finance or worked in insurance, like whatever it is, and it's like, okay, you get an internship this year, and then you get the job the year after that, and then in 2 years you get promoted, and then, like sports aren't like that. So it's like I didn't even necessarily want I was scared to like when I started like developing relationships and sources, and I had a boss who kind of realized that I could be pretty good at this, and again, Sam Stachel was at MLSsoccer.com, and he's helped me tremendously, and he left pretty early in my when I started there. I was just a supplemental writer, and he went to the Athletic because he's the best, he's the gold standard. And we didn't hire anybody, and like the boss was like, yeah, like you can start doing this stuff. And then at one point he's like, oh, you're doing well, I want you to just be like a transfer newsbreaker, like, think of, Woj or Jeff or whatever it
Yeah.
is, and name your favorite kind of newsbreaker anywhere. And I was scared. I was like, well, you're only as good as your sources. And like, what if that doesn't happen? Or like, like, hey, like I can always have an opinion watching a game, and we all like to think that our opinion is the most important thing in the world. And it's like, it felt it felt riskier to be like this. And thankfully he had that vision, and he helped me a lot. Simon Borg is his name. He's, absolute OG around MLS. So yeah, like it's kind of funny looking back on it. It's like the greatest thing anything's ever done for my career. And like I pushed back on it. I was like, I'm like scared. Like I don't like, what if this doesn't work out? Or like, what if you're just wrong? Or like, what do you mean? Like people aren't going to care about my opinion on like breaking down tactics? Like, you know what I mean? But like, I'm not a former player. I'm not Matt Doyle. I'm not like, I think I can read the game pretty well. I can talk about it very well. But like, there are people who are better than you at everything. So it's just, I don't know. It's funny to look back and be like, wow, like I pushed back on, with the golden ticket for my career. And like, I almost messed it up. Thank God I had like editors that believed in me and kind of had a vision.
Yeah, and thinking about it, I mean, I've done a little bit myself as well with breaking transfers. Has there ever been a situation where a team has gotten mad at you for breaking some news before them, or even possibly, drop, basically making the transfer come out of nowhere, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, that's, I think I've been able to go about it in a correct way. And there's a lot of people who are understanding and like, look, maybe this isn't ideal for us, but we get it. Like, right? Like it's, and hey, thank you for letting us know first. Like the times where people have been most upset is if they feel like I didn't give them enough of a heads up. Or like, hey man, like you hit this out of nowhere. Hey, like you didn't like, I don't know. I've been lucky, you know, again, look, like I'm sure people are angry like behind the scenes. I was talking to somebody recently who was like, "Tell me how the hell I get out of a meeting and 3 minutes later you have the information. What's going on here?" Just like maybe like it's a positive joke, but it's like I know that those conversations happen too. Like I know that everybody doesn't like me. Like it's life. People don't like you. So yeah, for the most part, I've been able to be pretty good or be okay. Like you know, again, you're gonna come up against stuff because everybody has their own preferences. Everybody has their own kind of ideals on things, and yeah, sometimes like I find out stuff that people really didn't want you to find out, and but again, like it's nothing's been too bad. Just you know, a couple crap storms. I don't know if I can curse, but shit
Yeah, you're
storms.
fine.
Sorry,
You're totally fine.
you're gonna have to go bleep this out later. Yeah, it's been a couple shit storms, but you know, for the most part, like it hasn't been too bad. And like I think the baseline is that I've never gotten anything wrong, right? Like if I was putting stuff out that was incorrect, like then it'd be a shitstorm. But like people are just kind of like, all right, fair enough, like he's right, like and like to my knowledge, I've never done something premature to the fact where it's like impacted a potential move, and I've heard stories about that as well, where like people have said that you know somebody reports it's done before it's done, and then the deal falls through. So it's like I've been pretty careful about like those kind of things, and so yeah, it hasn't been too bad, but there's some stories.
Yeah, and it seems like it's a high stress job. Is there things that you do to kind of unwind? I know you post sometimes that you play soccer after work and you do other things to kind of de stress. But what's your main kind of hobby?
Yeah, honestly, God, I try to play as much as I can because, like, you know, like anybody else, I'm addicted to my phone, and you know, particularly what I do for work, I have to be on it all the time. The only thing that I can guarantee, without question, I will not think about touching my phone is if I'm playing soccer. So
Yeah,
like, I need that desperately, and it's a you know competitive outlet. I'm an angry dude. I'm very competitive. I really like so like for an hour for however long the games are like however like doesn't matter how high level. Like last night I played in you know it's all former college guys and guys that are playing semi-pro, and like
yeah,
I loved every second of it because you're just completely locked in, and
right.
like that's the only thing that can like really take my mind off it. But like lower things like love going out getting a couple beers with friends or whatever and trying to unplug, or Football Manager, which is a funny one for me because it's like, oh, let me on my all day typing at my laptop or talking on my phone about soccer,
Right.
let me put my phone down and change the browser in my laptop to go do the same thing but virtually. So it's pretty stupid, but I whatever, I enjoy it.
Yeah, well, in I know in FIFA when you play career mode, you get tweets. You know, is there one day where you're gonna see a Tom Bogert tweet? You know,
Yeah, I've joked about that because FM is the same way, and like,
yeah,
like I made a joke like that would be awesome if they could like license that, like self-centered, obviously
right.
self-interest, but like someone was like, dude, people make these like there's stuff you can download that I'm sure you're on. I was like, what? No way! Like that's incredible.
No, that is pretty cool and a little bit surreal, right? I mean, MLS is growing, right? And maybe
Mhm.
not a lot of people know it from your hometown and from your childhood friends and things like that. But have you ever like had to explain to someone that, hey, you know what Woj bombs are? You know, like that's basically me when I dropped that Gareth Bale was coming to the United States, right? Like, what's I do it all the time, and I'm wondering you probably do it too.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's tough because I'm like I struggle to like talk about like Irish Catholic like repressed like I struggle like talk about myself like that, and like I'm not gonna walk up and be like, hey man, do you know that I'm actually like the Woj? Like I've never said something like that, like, but there's the Bale one's a funny one because that was when a whole lot of casuals in my life who don't follow MLS, who
Yeah,
don't even necessarily follow soccer all that closely, where like I got a bunch of texts that day. It was like, holy shit, this was you. Like, fuck, like I saw like this was oh my god, like that's incredible. It's like, yeah, I've been doing this for a couple years. What's
right,
up?
right.
Like glad you found it.
No, that's hilarious because I constantly like wait. I even have to deal with there's a team in the Bay Area, so definitely you probably had your fair share of things. No, but I have to go back to what you said about your phone and being on social media. The way I kind of wrap my head around it is like, I'm not addicted to social media. I'm just growing, my brand. I'm trying to find a way to make it bigger. It's work. It's
Yep,
not. It's not
yep,
addiction. So,
exactly.
but
It can always be work, and then before you know it, it's 11 p.m. and you're still doom
right.
scrolling and doing nothing.
No, but the way I have to write for, I'm going to start writing for a couple of MLS games, and the way I get around it is, I'll play a game of FIFA here, to see who's on
Exactly.
the Galaxy
Exactly.
roster. So that's kind of a way
Exactly.
I tie it in. Hey, I'm working, no problem here. But
I love that. That's perfect.
yeah, it was nice to kind of hear that backstory and all that. This is a Quakes podcast, so we're going to talk a little bit about San Jose. Some of the fans are kind of wanting, they're just wanting to know, because on the Quakes side of things, it's a little, I would say, quiet usually these off seasons, and this off season has been a little busy.
Yeah.
The first question I wanted to ask you was there anything that kind of went down that didn't get, past the finish line?
Yeah, I mean, look, like every club has that, or whether it's, oh my God, I totally thought we were going to sign him, or we just about had things agreed and then it didn't work out. So look, like, yes, that happens at every single club, every offseason. There was a point where, like, the Carlos Carrezo stuff, like, it was close for a while, and like, those deals are gonna be difficult to get over the line. So thankfully, like, that wasn't one of these cases that they did get it over the line. But yeah, look, there was. I know that they were interested in Aaron Long. They put in a call about Matt Hedges, and like, again, I don't know how far down the list that this all went, and like, I believe it was you or somebody reported that they were in for Alex Cowens. Yeah, every single MLS team should have been making those calls. I like that. That's like, so I'm certain that there's 100 examples like this that, like, it'd be kind of disingenuous for me to be like, oh yeah, there was 4 strikers and 3 center mids and 7 left backs, like, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, nothing that kind of strikes off as like, oh wow, that deal was done, but it didn't get done.
And talking a little bit about the GM Chris Leach now, in my opinion, this is just my opinion though, I feel like he's done a great job with bringing in transfers within MLS. I feel like he's gotten Jamir Montero for, times on a penny, or, really cheap. And as well as now, we haven't seen him play yet, but Jonathan Mensah, especially when you see Tui Loma go for 5 times the price, and maybe, yeah, he's a little younger, but still, it seems like he's getting some good deals down. I actually asked him the other day, I was like, hey man, do you have any blackmail on these other GMs? Because you're getting some cheap prices. What do you think about Leach's tenure in San Jose?
Yeah, look, like, it's just a reality that some of these teams aren't going to go spend $6 million on Enzo Capetti or Chicho Arango, or insert any player here. In San Jose, it's just a reality. Like, Carlos Carrezo, I believe, Carlos Carrezo is their club record signing. So that was, like, they did go out and like, spend, like, some money this offseason, which is cool. But for Chris Leach, Jeremy Ebobisse on the trade market has been a fantastic deal. Jamir Montero, I didn't love it when they did the trade. I just thought he was good, fine, a little inconsistent, and some things I'd heard about him in Philly. He's been great. That's been a really good trade. I was wrong. I really love the Jonathan Mensah trade. Look, the reason why it was so cheap is because he's on like 1.1 million or something. But guess what? Good players cost money. It's like, I don't care about the contract, right? Like, so there are a lot of moves that they had to do around the fringes. And again, in a salary cap league, like, it's not like everybody would want to spend more money. Right. But like, you still have the chance to compete. Like, look at Philly. Their club record signing was Mikael Orr. Before that, it was Jamiro Montero. Like, you can, like, what San Jose, a lot of teams are trying to emulate what Philly are doing. San Jose actually have the chance to do it because the academy is so good as well. Right. And like with Luchi Gonzalez, I thought that was a really good hire. If, you get the breakout season from Cade Cowell, and then you get, in a couple years, breakout season from Cruz Medina, and then you still have Tommy Thompson in your team at 27, 28, 29. Like, these are the ways that teams, if you're not going to spend these big transfer fees and be doing it every single year, that's how you compete. And like, that's why I thought that it was crucial. It was a shoo-in, I think, that Leach was interim and then got the title, because like, guys who are around this league, guys who have experience in this league, are the best at this. Like, they are the best qualified to find these deals and to appreciate the domestic market and find the value. So all in all, like, I think it's a really good fit. We'll see how it goes. Again, like, I'm really bullish on Lucci. You could talk me into scenarios in which this team is awesome. Like, there are some question marks, and again, if Ebobisse gets hurt, that's going to be really difficult. If, Guerrezo gets hurt, like, there's Judson. But, like, again, you can say that about any team. There are scenarios legitimately where this team is very good.
Yeah, it makes you, wonder what this team is going to do if Cade Cowell leaves in the summer, or if even Benji Kikanovic, that deal finally goes over the line. So, yeah, talking about shitstorms, that was one for me. Maybe thinking that it was done, but not done yet. But
no.
This team does need some depth. That's why I think the whole fan base is really waiting for Oseni Budo to maybe make that next step, and hopefully he does. But no, this team could. I mean, especially now because the playoffs is different, right? I had the
A lot
Quakes.
more teams in the dance.
Right, right. I had the Quakes, just below the playoff line, but you know what? Now they're above it. Um, but it's something we're all excited for here in San Jose. But a lot of fans in San Jose kind of feel like we shouldn't be a small market team, right? I mean, it's the Bay Area. You're competing
Yeah.
with the Giants. You're competing with the 49ers. It's just, unfortunately, the reality of Quakes fans. It's a little tough to kind of fill in the seats here, but it's something that Chris Leach has done a good job with, at least with the the arsenal he's been given. So I think Chris Leach has. Mhm.
Yeah, I was gonna say your point of like I don't even get into arguments of whether the Quakes should or shouldn't be a small market, big one, whatever you think about it. And again, like I'm just completely agreeing with what you said. Yeah, it's just a reality. Like so, I don't even think that shouldn't even be wasting time of what should or shouldn't be. It's, hey, this is how it is,
Right.
and like you either figure it out or you don't. So like yeah, like I completely agree with you.
Yeah, yeah. Especially when that. So the owner for the Quakes is looking to move the A's to Vegas, and the Vegas team's coming up. So a lot of fans are thinking, hey, you know what? Maybe this is an Austin Columbus thing, and it's a win-win for both. So we'll see. Yeah, yeah. So exciting stuff. Going a little bit into the Lucci Gonzalez hiring. What are some things? Maybe you've seen him in FC Dallas and all the transfers out that he had. How fast till you start to see that Lucci pipeline kind of get interest in Europe?
As in terms of like the players coming through.
Yeah, yeah. So how we saw kind of the eyes get to Weston,
Right.
Tessman, all those guys.
Yeah.
When do you start seeing the fruits of labor? Right.
Yeah, I mean, so I think it's a really good fit because everybody in Europe knows about Kate Cal. Like they don't need somebody convincing them. Like, and that's how it started with Dallas. It was like, okay, oh, Weston McKennie was in your academy. He didn't play the first. Oh wow. Oh, Chris Richards was in your academy. Oh, that's pretty cool. Oh, and then Tessman and Pepe and you just Cannon and Reynolds and that's where it starts. So the Quakes, I think, have like again with Kate Cal, everybody knows him in Europe. Everybody has known him since he was like 14 or 15. So that's going to help. Kate Cal is a special kid and is a special talent and has been like if he was playing for your men's league team, you could get somebody to buy him, right? Like he's going to sell himself. With Lucci, he's going to play these kids, and like Matias Almeida, like for whatever criticism I had, that was something he was very good with too. He's always been great at playing young players. Mm-hmm. So all it is giving the kids the chance to play, and if they play well, and if you do the right things in terms of their development, teams are going to come calling, and teams are going to come looking. Teams are always looking at MLS.
Right.
For the next young talents. And hey, scouts might be coming for Kate Cowell and go, oh, who's this Cruz Medina kid? Who's this Nico Sakaris? Who's blank, blank, blank? You're feeling, and Lucci's going to play them. The other part of this that I like in Lucci's own personal development, he was really honest about this in interviews when he was taking the job. He's like, look, maybe I was too focused on youth development. Maybe I wasn't pragmatic enough at times. Maybe, he's like, and Jim Curtin, I think, says this the best, where he's like, yeah, we have a lot of interesting young players, but nobody would care if we weren't winning. People continue to watch because we're winning. And like, that's the next step for Lucci in his own development, because for the rest of his life, he's got a job as a youth, as an academy coach, as a U20, as academy director, like he's set. But for him to could take the next step as a first team manager, it's getting results while the development. And he did his first 2 years in Dallas. I thought that he got a little bit of a hard rub. I didn't agree with them firing him when they did. And then that offseason, they went out and spent $7 million, and then they spent $2 million GAM to get Paul Ariel. And I'm sure Lucci was like, what the hell, man? Like, where was that for me? So again, all in all, I'm a big Lucci fan. Like I'm going to believe in this guy for what, again, who knows if it works out or not. I can be wrong and, whatever. But he's the confluence of development that he has, and if he does unlock this next step at just sometimes you have to be dogmatic, sometimes you got to play the 33-year-old to get a result today, but he'll never lose that kind of development at heart that he has.
Got it. Yeah, no, everyone's excited for Lucci, and we'll see this Saturday, right? It's going to be a tough task against Atlanta on the road, but I always said,
dude, that's going to be such a fun game. Like, these are two teams that have question marks defensively and want to play. Like, that's one of the ones I'm really looking forward to. Like, there's got to be goals in that game.
Yeah, and I was saying, if we want Atlanta, I mean, right now's the time, right? So I think this is the best time to, grab all 3 points without Josef. The first game without Josef, so it's going to be a team that's maybe doesn't know where to look for those goals, right? So It's exciting to be a Quakes fan and for Lucci. But talking a little bit more about this roster, who do you think is? I know Cade Cowell's the easy choice right here, but who do you
Yeah.
think is the first Quake to kind of make that next leap to Europe?
Well, so that's the thing. Like, it's easy answer, but it's the right answer. And look, like
Yeah.
I've been saying kind of all winter, like I do believe that this is going to be his like the season where he takes the leap. Like
Mm.
I don't know. It's funny what happens. Like he broke in when he got his debut when he was 16 or whatever, and then I think we thought like he looked really good as a 17-year-old in moments,
Yeah.
and then last year people I thought were like ready for the leap.
Right.
Then it didn't come because he's a teenager playing in like it happened. Like I would hear some people talk like, yeah, like he's not that great of a prospect. Something like that's like, dude, is he being punished because he broke into the first team so young? It's like,
Right.
where are we setting the expectations? Like, if you look at Jesus Ferrer's career, it was the same kind of arc. He had a really really good season when he was I think 18.
Hmm.
Then his age 19 season, he was bad. He just wasn't very effective. And people were like, oh, maybe he's not that good, or like maybe he's not as good as we thought he was going to be. And then last year he was around the MVP candidate. I think he was best 11. He was whatever. Like development isn't linear. It's not like this little like ladder by ladder. So again, I feel like I needed to give you more than on this because just saying Kate Cowell is a boring answer. But like, look, he like Reams have had bids rejected for him in the past, and even if he doesn't play great this year, like a club like Reams is like whatever that level is, or whatever like mid-table France, like like he's got that. If he takes a jump this year, then it's Club Brugge or think of Europa League level teams or Salzburg type teams that are first place in smaller leagues. So like this is a huge year for him, and like, I truly believe that he's got all of the ability to put it all together.
Yeah, and definitely in that United States men's national game that happened recently, it was evident that man, this guy's
He was awesome.
Yeah, he was keeping toe to toe with Brandon Vasquez and Kellen Acosta, guys that could have possibly made that jump or will make that jump eventually. But yeah, he was stellar in that game, and everybody's excited for it. If he goes, I know this is probably something that it will come. But do you feel like the Quakes are going to need to fill that role right away? Is it something where, man, we have to get a transfer fee in for Cade and then bring in someone else? So
Yeah, I mean, look, so it depends on where they think. Like, so obviously, if Benji Kakanovic is here, that's a starting level player. Like, that'll be fine, but you'll still need another guy. It depends on where they think Nico Sakaris kind of projects to, where they think Cruz Medina and where these guys are in their development, and whether they say, okay, like, we can spend that money on the team somewhere else, and we don't want to block the next Cade Cowell, right? Like, or whoever in the academy hasn't signed a homegrown contract yet that might be coming up. It just depends where you see those guys and if they're ready or not. Because again, Cade Cowell has been talented for a long time, and like it would be silly at 16, 17 years old to rely on him for 2,500 minutes, right? Like until like this year is I think would be, if he does not play well this year, I think that's when the criticisms will start to be fair. So yeah, it depends on where they see these players and trying to hit that fine line of not blocking the player, but not giving them too much too soon and then kind of taking them off track. And like Philly has but like Philly's been really good. I'm going to keep coming back to them. Yeah. But like Brendan Aronson, he got his chance in the first team because Marco Fabian Farfan, why am I struggling? Too many players, was not very good. And then Brendan Aronson won the job and never let it go. Paxton Aronson, from scouts I've talked to, was a better prospect at his age than Brendan Aronson was. He played like 500 minutes because Daniel Gazdag was in the team. Like,
right.
So, and he still got sold to Eintracht Frankfurt for $4 million. Like, so that didn't stop his development. So there are ways that like you can still bring players along, but like Lucci of the past might be like, okay, let's just bring in the next kid, and then maybe Lucci this year is like, no, if we sell Kate Cowell, you got to give me half of that transfer fee to go bring in another player. So these are all interesting. Every decision impacts another one because maybe that money's better spent at center back or left, or whatever it is. And hey, we think that Cruz Medina's ready for 2,000 minutes right now. So again, it's a non-answer. It's a pretty bad answer, but like all these things kind of like impact each other.
No worries. Don't worry. It's a good answer because in reality, it's the truth. I mean, if a guy can get sold even without playing that many minutes, it's still possible. Yeah. Like if Cruz Medina, keeps balling out, I would be surprised if maybe he never even hits the first team. Maybe he goes as a
like Chris Richards, man. Like or Joe Scally was sold before he made his MLS debut, and I was like, yeah, he's a good player, but like that's a lot of money for somebody who's never played top flight football. And then like he debuts at Gladbach, it's like, oh yeah, like their scouts are better than me, like they knew what they were doing. Like
Right. So you've been in the league for about 4 years. I mean, at least officially, but you probably followed longer. How do you feel like the development of the league is coming? Right. I mean, it's something
incredible
where it's coming in boatloads of cash, right, and a whole bunch of viewership, and this Apple TV deal. I mean, what are your overall thoughts on the league so far?
Yeah, it's at a better place than it's ever been, I think. And like, look, even 5 years ago, even 3 years ago, you just look at this transfer, this winter transfer window. Nobody's would be spending $20 million for John Duran. Like, he could be the same exact player, but 5 years ago, Premier League clubs would be like, screw you. Like, you don't have enough examples of selling players like 5 million, take it or leave it, right? Like,
Yeah.
and they would have taken it because that was the development of the league. Like, it's awesome to see the talent. It's awesome to see the intensity. The like, I think, and I struggle with this too because I know that I come on like some of these shows and I'm like sound like super positive guy, but like you, DC United and Chicago probably are the two worst teams in the East. I think pretty consensus for like preseason.
Hmm.
I could give you 10 reasons to watch both of those teams. That's
Yeah.
Christian Benteke, Xherdan Shaqiri.
Yeah.
Chicago's got academy kids. DC United are going to start a 16-year-old academy center back. These are two of the what's supposed to be the boring or like lifeless teams in the league like this year, and like I'm looking forward to watching them. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
you can't that's a lot of teams. It's like it's such a good spot where it is right now, and it's like
Right.
really bullish on like where it's trending and how things are going. So look, like again, I know I sound like company man or whatever, but like dude, it's just league's in a great spot and it's just really awesome. Like I remember days of I went to like one of the Red Bulls last games at the Meadowlands before they got Red Bull Arena. It was pouring rain. There was 2,000 people there, and like Makumba Kanji was the best player on the field. Like I was looking at the lineups the other day, and I was like, I don't recognize any of these players. It was like, it's just crazy. With like now we have a World Cup winner. We have $10 million. We have the Europa League leader in assists. Came to MLS instead of going somewhere else in Europe. It's just, I don't know, inconceivable a decade ago.
Yeah, especially, I mean, you would a decade ago you would see guys that again wouldn't even touch the field nowadays because just the
Dude.
talent level is just so high, so much higher. And
Or
I
like
mean,
national team guys, like I forget who, I think it was John Harkes or somebody. Like to transfer to Europe, they had to go on. Sasha Kljestan went on trial at Celtic.
right,
And like,
right,
are
yeah.
you kidding me? And like now it's Paxton Aronson's not even playing in the first team, and it's like, yeah, 5 million, please, thank you.
Yeah,
It's
right,
crazy.
right. No, it is exciting. It definitely is, and I mean, it's a constant struggle just fighting with non-soccer fans, right, in America, and I know you deal with it too. So it's exciting to see where the league is, and totally, it's going to be different. I think this Apple TV deal is going to do something
Yeah.
that we all. I was a little worried though. I was a little worried with the paywall, but with the T-Mobile codes and everybody getting it, if you have
Yeah.
T-Mobile, especially on the West Coast, everybody has T-Mobile, so it's pretty exciting. That's what I learned too. I guess East Coast people don't have T-Mobile because of the mountains.
Not a lot of friends have T-Mobile from it. I have AT&T. Verizon is pretty dominant over here, so that's I think you illuminated something for me there. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, yeah, especially now everybody has access to it, so it's something that maybe new fans weren't thinking about it. Now they have free access to it.
And so and a real quick point to that is like so right now Apple has I think they still have one baseball game a week, but like they're like reported to be like they didn't just get MLS and be like that's it for sports, we're good, don't worry.
Right.
So like I think some concerns are how do you get people to stumble into it? If it's behind a paywall, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. But like like the NBA rights are up at some point
Right.
in the near future. Then like NBA fans, if it ends
Right.
up being Apple, then it's like oh look at this, like I already have Apple TV for NBA, and oh look at this, it's soccer. Like so, I was that was one of my biggest like fears like at first, and then I thought about it more and thought about how we're like again this isn't going to be it for Apple. I don't
Right.
imagine, at least I'm not saying this with any certainty. This is just my own personal speculation, but like I'm not as worried about people stumbling into it. And like you said, they've been really good with hey, here's a 3-month free trial, or hey,
Right.
T-Mobile, you get the first year free. Hey, season like all this like they've
Right.
done a really good job at making it accessible.
Yeah, and just alone, the marketing I feel like has been way more than I've ever seen, especially here in the Bay
Yeah.
Area because we have Apple and Cupertino.
Good point.
Just seeing more MLS stuff, which maybe doesn't happen with the Quakes, but at least now it's happening with the league, right? So it's something that's a little exciting, and just that Tim Cook picture alone with all those guys is something where
It's crazy.
it might be on someone's wall somewhere, and then that starts a conversation, right? So I know it sounds a little funny, but like out here in the Bay Area, you get those Apple fanboys, you get the Tesla
There you go.
fanboys, the Elon Musk,
There you go.
I bought you a pizza 3 months ago, do you remember me? So it's exciting to see. But I'm gonna ask this last question, and I'm gonna leave you on this. A fan wanted to know which mascot do you prefer, Q or Sir Minty?
Oh, I go with Sir Minty. I think that's my base answer. Philly Fang is pretty dope. If you think a Rapids man back in the day, I forget if
Yeah,
they brought him
Rapids
back
man.
or not.
What about
There's
Riker from the Quakes before, right? He was
Oh
like
my
a
God, yeah.
wolf. Yeah.
Need to bring that back. Look, I think that Gritty in the NHL for the Flyers, I think that showed that like some of these old school MLS mascots that were maybe a little bit too weird or scary. There's a market for that, man. We got to bring them back. That's all I'm saying.
And especially MLS Next Pro, right? I mean, just go at it, right? Get some weird mascots in
For the
there.
kids, man.
Right, right. And then maybe the All-Star game, you have a mascot game. Who knows? We can do something.
I'll make that my mission to like tweet that into existence.
Yeah. All right, Tom. Thank you so much for coming on the show and giving me your time and your busy day. I mean, you probably have transfers blowing up on your phone right now. So again, thank you so much for taking the time for me and Quakes fans. We do appreciate it.
Cheers, man. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to being back again.